Mr. Steve Pesman.
Yeah, Pat.
You and the chair, seriously.
Greg and I were trying to squeeze past each other behind the stage. In 1964, they had the first surfer pole banquet. I think it was Sebastian's Dinner Theater in San Clemente, or it might have been in a club at Dana Point. But it was the first gathering of the surf industry at that time, which was basically surfboard manufacturers. And it was the first time I kind of dressed up thing like this. And to give you an idea of how times have changed, the MC was a guy named Fred McClellan. And he was standing on stage, and Greg Gold was standing next to him. And Hibbs, they were talking and doing their thing, and all of a sudden Hibbs felt like his leg was wet. And he looked down, and Greg had his schwanz out, and he was peeing on his leg. Sorry, Greg. Well, let's not take ourselves too seriously. So, on the way home, all the guys from South Bay, they came down in the car together to the deal at Dana Point, and they all got pretty twisted. And on the way home, Dewey was in the car, and he was like a high school wrestling guy, and Greg was in the car, and somehow they got kind of a tiff. And Dewey got Greg, this is the story anyway, Dewey got Greg in that headlock, and wouldn't let him go until Huntington Beach because he was afraid to. Is that true, Greg? Anyway, I wouldn't let him go either. So 2 years before that, a young guy, maybe 18 years old, I'm not sure how old you were, came out with a movie called Cool Wave of Color. It was the first movie that Greg McGillivray made, and at the time, that world was made up of Bud Brown, John Severson, Bruce Brown, I think, was in it, and Greg was in it too. I think he was second after Bud, actually. And Cool Wave of Color was remarkable and quite different. When we went to see it, we weren't expecting much because we didn't know who Greg was. But you went to every movie that came out was a major deal. And all of a sudden we were confronted with a pretty intelligent, interesting, quite different than the other films. So you had freeze frames, and there was all kinds of technical innovation. And Greg went on to make a statement over the next 10 or 12 or probably maybe 15 years of making surf films, in which he demonstrated a continuation, kind of an unfolding of the flower as it blooms, in which he acquired technical abilities and filmmaking abilities. And the statements that he made about the sport were pretty much the definitive benchmark statements. And surf movies back then were hugely important to the sport. They were probably the most evocative social gatherings and the most important form of communication. Surf magazines are good and all that, but really just color dots on paper, and movies move, and they have noise, and people talk, and there's music, and the whole thing articulates into a very effective thing that can give you chicken skin when you're watching it. And so by the time Greg finished with 5 Summer Stories, which was the anthem of the 70s, prior to that I think Waves of Change, The Performers, Free and Easy, all those films were huge statements. But tonight he's getting an award as Environmentalist of the Year because he went on to make IMAX films that delivered that same intensity and passion, the perspective of life, the perspective of nature, from a surfer's point of view, to millions of people, to the general public. And you can't go to one of those films without being touched, without being converted. The Earth is facing a huge dilemma right now. More than half the people that have ever been alive on Earth are alive right now. It's not narcissist, we're toast, but you might as well keep up the fight. Well, Greg's films, you know, they weren't, I don't know if he was making films to deliver environmental messages, but everything he does, I think he does coming from the standpoint of the surfer. And his films delivered a message of the delicate, intertwining relationship of all the elements. You know, people say if you were, it's like a single cell. It's not unlike a single cell. And the integrity, the interrelationship of all the parts of it. If you screw with one, it messes the whole thing up. Well, we're, halfway down the road. But Greg's films actually deliver that message in such a cogent, passionate way, the viewpoint of the surfer, that they've made a huge, profound difference.